Well, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I am excited to be with you this evening. I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to do this live stream or if I wanted to wait until Monday. And I decided, you know what? You have time to do it this evening. It's important. And so I'm not on the roof tonight. I'm actually in the living room, as you can see, with the art and the sofa behind me. But it was really important that I took my time to prepare images and just really go all the way in with sharing this tonight, sharing all that is happening. Um, in Texas regarding redistricting. I think it's critical that we talk about this, that you hear about it almost every day from people in the community, people like myself. I realize that my voice is one that people do listen to, as well as I have a responsibility as not just as a citizen, as a voter, but also as an educator, also as an advocate. I have a responsibility to provide applicable information so that people can be informed, people can understand what is going on in a way that's not as confusing because, honey, this is very confusing. But I just want to make sure that I provide information that's not just vital, but that people can, how can I put it, digest and share so that they become more informed. So, most of you, well, I won't even say most of you, some of you may have heard about the redistricting that is happening in the state of Texas. And this redistricting is, how can I put it? It is a threat. It is a threat to our votes, a threat to, let me put it better this way, a threat to our fair representation, right? And so I find it critical this evening to share this information. Again, I'm going to be using photos, websites, all the things to help better demonstrate exactly what is going on. So if you are watching this right now live, please go ahead and share this with others. Um, and if you're watching this as a recording, please still share it with others. If by chance you see this on YouTube, please make sure that you not only like and comment on this content, but that you definitely subscribe to Pretty Petty Politics. Please make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel. Okay. So without further delay, I'm going to get started. I hope to be done within 30 minutes since I have to go to bed here soon. I hope to be done within 30 minutes, no more than 45. So it is 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let's go ahead and get started. So tonight we are looking at several things. The first is going to be the US Census. The US Census is what is utilized to gather data to determine our population, and then we utilize those numbers from the population count to determine how and where where people are and how they will be represented. Okay, where people are and how they will be represented. So in 20, you know what? I forgot to add one map. But in 2010, we had a census. So every decade, at the start of every decade, that April, we take a census count. So I'm going to start with 2010. I could go further back, but I'm going to just do the last 20 plus years, right? So we'll start with 2010 and move forward. With the 2010 census, a map was created. I will put that map, should be able to put a link to it. I'll put that in the comments later. All right. But the first website, um, well, let me finish about census. So the US Census, we collect the data, and then based on those numbers, we can see where people are in the country. So California and Texas have large, very large populations. We have the two largest populations, of course, with California having more, although Texas is the largest in land mass in the lower 49 or lower 48, excuse me. Um, we still don't have the same population as California. So after the 2010 census, Texas had 36 congressional districts. Texas had 36 congressional districts after the 2010 census. With the 2020 census, Texas grew by two. So we went from 36 to 38. All right. We grew by two, going from 36 to 38. When that happened, a new map was established. Okay. Redistricting is what happens based on population. So whether population increases or decreases, the state legislature in Texas, there's a redistricting committee. The redistricting committee is responsible for reviewing, accepting, providing proposed maps for redistricting. Okay. And then the legislature will vote on it. So we're gonna it's so much, but I'm just trying to slow down because let me slow down. So redistricting happens after the census. And so usually, okay, I told you the census is 2010. Well, in the year, not in 2010. The census is every year that ends in a zero. So the next even year ends in two. That is typically when the redistricting map activates. So it goes into it's incorporated, it goes into action, it is live, so to speak, like this video is live. So in 2020 we had a census during the pandemic, right? We had a census that April. 2021 in Texas, we have our legislature in Texas meets for their regular sessions for 140 days between January and June during odd years. So this is 2025, our legislature just met. 2021, after the census, our legislature met. And during their redistricting process, they proposed a new map and then they voted on it. That had a lot of controversy. People were going, challenging, demanding that, certain communities stay within their districts. And I just noticed my lighting is off, but I broke my ring light. So forgive me for the lighting. Just listen to the information. So there were some lawsuits, and there's one major lawsuit that was filed as a result of the redistricting that took place in 2021 and took effect in 2022. That case was just heard this year, and I want to say it ended last month. And so the court that is hearing that case is out in El Paso. The court um, is requesting basically like memos and letters and arguments, additional information from each party. But it was the ACLU who sued the state of Texas. So there is pending litigation behind the 2020 census, no, behind the 2021 redistricting map that was based off of the 2020 census. Now, in a separate video, I will talk about that lawsuit, but tonight I really want us to know that that lawsuit is out there because it could have some impact on what's happening now. But additionally, in 2020, the growth in the state, remember, we grew by two, we gained two districts. Those growth numbers were shown in metro areas, particularly one of them being Houston, right? And so we received the 38th congressional district here in Houston. Now, the 38th congressional district went into effect in 2022. There was a primary in March of 2022 because that's what we do in even years. We have primaries in March in the state of Texas in general. Um, from there was a general election. 2022 was a midterm election, right? So in that November, we had our general election, and the first member of Congress to represent Texas in the U.S. Congress, right? For the 36th congressional district of Texas. I know I just tongue tied myself. So the first person to represent the 38th congressional seat of Texas for the U.S. House of Representatives was elected, and his name is Wesley Hunt. Okay, so the 38th district. The 38th congressional district is like Northwest Harris County, Tomball, Magnolia. Well, is it Magnolia? No, that's Luttrell. Luttrell is Magnolia. But I'm going to show you in a second. So let me not confuse you by saying the wrong thing. I'm going to show you. But just think Northwest Harris County or Northwest Houston. Okay. And it comes into some of the urban area. Okay. So we're going to look at that. And when I say urban, I mean inside the city of Houston, not out in the suburbs, right? Um, so again, when does redistricting happen? Redistricting follows the census. Typically, census not typically. Census is in the years that end in zero. Redistricting takes place in the years that end with two, and then we start that cycle all over again as the growth either increases or decreases during a decade. Okay, so over the span of 10 years, we can either increase or we can decrease. So Texas has steadily increased, right? And so we aren't due for redistricting until after the 2030 census. But the legislature is taking up what is called a mid-decade redistricting, right? And this has happened. There was a request from President Trump to Governor Abbott to basically pick up 5 additional Republican districts in anticipation of the 2026 midterm election. So a special session has been shopped around for a few weeks let me make this clear, prior to the July 4th devastation in Hill Country. So prior to that, this thing was going on. Like, it was well known that it was a possibility that, maybe not well known, but it was known that there was a possibility that there may be some redistricting happening in the middle of the decade. And we are literally in the middle of the decade. It is 2025 and it is summer. So this is literally the middle, right? Um, and so now we're going to special session. There are a lot of things on the agenda. I anticipate that we have at least 2 special sessions based on the agenda that has been made available. A special session lasts 30 days in the state of Texas. A special session lasts 30 days. Well, during either this one or the next one, probably this one, um, redistricting is going to be at the top of the agenda, so to speak. Like, it's one of the bigger actions because there's so many processes to it. And let me get my words together. And because redistricting is a tedious process, because it's going to be a lot of arguments and all of that, I do anticipate having 2 special sessions. Maybe we won't, but I do anticipate having 2. Having said that, the redistricting begins tomorrow. That's why it was important for me to do this tonight. Redistricting is supposed to take place on Monday. It's supposed not redistricting. The special session is supposed to take place on Monday, July 21st. Today is Sunday, July 20th. So tomorrow, our state legislators will convene in Austin in the state house, in the state senate, for a special session. And redistricting is on the table. Okay. With redistricting, it's governed by law, and there's a committee that handles redistricting or oversees, let me put it that way, that oversees redistricting. There are processes to this. One of those processes includes there has to be hearings. So, redistricting committee hearings. I received information last week that we would have three of those. The first one being in Austin on this Thursday, the second being in Houston this upcoming Saturday, and the third being next Monday, the 28th, in Arlington. So up in the Dallas Fort Worth area, or metro area. So the dates, times, and locations are not very specific. So as that information comes in, I will share it. But right now, we don't have, well, I don't have the specifics on the locations besides maybe a campus, but not like a building and a room. With the exception of the one for Austin, that will be in the appropriations hearing room or the appropriations room. That's the only one that we had a specific um, room for. I don't even recall if there was a specific time for that one. The one in Houston is supposed to be at the University of Houston, but no building, no room number provided, but at 11 a.m. As that information becomes available, of course, we will make it available to you. Now let's move on. The committee. So let me remove this. So first, I'm going to share a website, and I'm sharing this website, and I'm going to keep it up because I want you to type it into your what do you call it? Your search bar. Um, and so that is redistricting.capitol with an O .texas.gov/current dash district hashtag US dash Congress dash section. And if that doesn't work, you can just follow follow what I'm about to put on next. So if you are watching this as a recording, you can just pause here while you type and then press play once you finish typing. So I'm going to remove this, and here we go. All right. So this is the website you should be on, and I want you to scroll down. So you see the current districts, plans in effect for 2022 elections. So this is what is our current status, okay? Our current status. So at the top you have Texas State Senate, Texas State House, and then as you scroll down you get to US Congress, all right? So this is the current map, the current, this is what we're under now. So again, 2022, the map went into effect. Well, no, the map went into effect in 2022, 2023. Those persons who were elected in those two districts, they were sworn into Congress. So this is, hopefully it opens, and it did not. Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, here we go. Give it 1 second, and I'm going to show you the current map. All right. So this is the current map, congressional district map in Texas, right? This is the one. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is the current one. Okay. This is the current one. We are in the 119th Congress. That is correct. So 119th Congress was elected this past November, and they were sworn into office this January. That is why you see 2025 to 2026. Next year at the end of 2026, they will either continue or not, depending on if they get elected or re-elected next November. November 2026, we will have another election. And then in January of 2027, the 120th Congress will be sworn in. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. You're elected in an even year, you take office in an odd. Of course, with the U.S. House of Representatives, they serve 2-year terms. So I am going to enlarge this so we can look at the Houston metro area over here to the right because it's too small down here. It's too much. We have so many districts in the metro area, just like in the Dallas area, there are multiple. So I am just going to stretch this little breakout box. All right. And then I'm going to scroll down so you can see it. And I know there's somewhat of a delay. Okay, so here, this is the Houston metro area. And so let's get started. So you can see the current district. So this is Harris County. This thing right here, this whole area right here is Harris County. Chambers County is actually on the other side of this squiggly here. Liberty County again to the right, Montgomery above, Fort Bend to the southwest, Brazoria direct south, Galveston kind of to the southeast, and Waller to the northwest, so to speak. But these are our surrounding counties, but this is the metro area, right? This is the metro area, and these are our suburbs, so to speak. So this green, I don't know, it could be a dog, it could be a dragon, but this green odd shape, which we call gerrymandering, right? That odd shape there is, let me go back to it. That is the 29th congressional district, which is represented by Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. Okay. The 29th district is represented by Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. She's probably been in Congress now. This should be her third or fourth term that she's in. She took the place of Congressman Green, not to be confused with Al Green. But she not took his place, but she succeeded him. Okay. The 29th district is currently a very heavily populated district, Hispanic populated district. Okay. And the way it dips down in here, it's dipping into downtown. Okay. It dips over into downtown, the east side of town, and parts of southeast. So this area down here is Pasadena, right? This is the Pasadena. So this Pasadena is our second largest city in Harris County. Pasadena is southeast. Pasadena is also the area where a lot of our, well, most of our refineries are, as well as other oil and gas and energy based companies. They're over in this area. Right here, where we have 36, much of 36, as you see from Liberty on down around Chambers to Galveston, that is Harris County as well. That is also an area like the Pasadena area. So that's LaPorte, that's Deer Park, the Baytown, those parts of Harris County. And the member of Congress there is Brian Babin, or Dr. Brian Babin. He's a dentist. But what this map doesn't show you in full, over here, you can see to your left, you can see the bigger picture. So you'll see that 36 just dips into this more densely populated area. Harris County is densely populated. As I said, these are suburbs of Houston. But these people in Harris County have very little in common with people in Tyler, Jasper, Newton, Hardin counties. And I would argue and say probably even Liberty counties, because these people in Harris County are in a metro area. They're not traveling 2+ hours to go to an airport. I mean, from Pasadena to Hobby Airport without traffic is less than 30 minutes. With traffic, it might be 40. And that's taking the freeway instead of just taking Spencer Highway straight up until it turns into airport. That's how close it is to The metro area. It is the metro area. So this is already a heavily gerrymandered area. You have this metro area, this piece of a metro area, and then all of this rural area. Okay. This is East Texas. This is rural. It is not the same as down here in Harris County. And I think that's important to point out. And I'm going to show you something. The reason why I'm making a big deal about the 36, even though it's not one of those districts that is being considered for redistricting per se, I'm going to show you, I'm pointing this out so you can see what's happening in the proposed map and how jacked up it is. All right. So this 18th congressional district, that is like, I don't know, almost like a mane, like a lion's mane. So if the green was the lion's face, this peachy color is like a lion's mane. And it wraps around Metro Houston, right? It wraps around the center of Metro Houston. Much of Harris County is made up of Houston. Majority of it is made up of the city of Houston. So the 18th congressional district is historically represented, or has historically for over 50 years been a predominantly Black community or a Black district. It includes 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, Acres Home, Independence Heights, what people may call Studewood. It includes parts of the Heights, Garden Oaks. Okay, so it is massive, and it also includes places like City Gas and Cashmere Gardens. But this district is currently vacant. A year ago yesterday, long time serving Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee passed away. And in this that the no well, let me put it this way. She passed away July of last year, July 19th. And then November of that year, former Houston Mayor, Mayor Sylvester Turner was elected to represent the 18th district, beginning with the 119th Congress. However, Sheila Jackson Lee's daughter was elected in November as well to complete the remainder of her mother's term. So she ran to complete the rest of her mother's term. So she served through December 31st. And I just want to make sure she's not an asterisk, that she's always included when we talk about who has represented the 18th congressional district. So Erica Lee Carter served from November to December 31st of last year. At the beginning of the year, January 2025, Sylvester Turner takes office. And March 5th of 2025, Sylvester Turner unfortunately passed away, okay, following the State of the Union address. He passed away overnight, okay? And so the 18th Congressional District has been vacant since his untimely death. The 18th Congressional District is having a special election in November where we, those of us who live in the 18th, we will vote to elect one of these 20 plus people running for office, will be elected in November, or there will be a runoff. Because there's so many people in the race there, it's a high probability that there will be a runoff. But whoever wins that election outright or through a runoff will become the next member of Congress for the 18th congressional district in the 119th Congress, because the 119th Congress does not end until the end of 2026. That person will probably then run in the primary next March to be in the general election next November to be a part of the 120th Congress, which will take place, or that will take office in 2027, January 2027. I'm saying all of this. I know it's a lot, but it's important. All right. The 38th Congressional District, which is just west of the 18th, is represented by Wesley Hunt. I talked about him earlier. So he's in his first Second. He's in his second term as member of Congress. Again, that district was established in 2022, right? And so it was established in 2022 following the 2021 redistricting as a result of the 2020 census. Okay. So he was elected in November of 2022 after it went into effect in January of 2022. And he took office in January of 2023. All right. So he's currently in his second term. To the east of 38, you have, or northeast, north and east, you have Congressional District 2. Congressional District 2 is held by Dan Crenshaw. Okay. 2 is held by Dan Crenshaw. To the west of 38, you have the 8th Congressional District. The 8th Congressional District is represented by, I can't think of his first name, but his last name is Luttrell. Okay. Luttrell represents the 8th Congressional District. I don't know if I have it in this notebook. It might be in another notebook. All right. Then we're going to skip down to the next yellow, which is the 7th. And you'll notice these shapes, right? That's why gerrymandering is on the screen, because we're looking at the shapes of these as well as where they're located. The 7th Congressional District is represented by Lizzie Fletcher. Okay, Lizzie Fletcher represents the 7th Congressional District. And just below her district is the 9th Congressional District, which is represented by Congressman Al Green. Okay, which is represented by Congressman Al Green. I think I found my notes. Okay. Nope, that's not it either. Just give me a second. I think I might have the wrong notebook. Okay. I might be able to work with this. There's some notes in here. All right. Below the 9th, you have the 22nd. So let's talk about the 22nd. The 22nd district, which is not fully shown here, but it's partially shown. The 22nd district includes, well, let me go back. Let's go back. The 7th and the 9th Congressional District are in both Harris County, Houston, as well as Fort Bend County. So it's in Harris County. They're both in Harris County and Fort Bend County currently. Okay. The 9th Congressional District is also in Brazoria County. Okay. So Al Green's district includes pieces of our 2 southern bordering neighboring counties, just pieces, like they're northern parts of those 2 southern counties. So Brazoria County is where Pearland is. Fort Bend is where Sugar Land, Missouri City are. However, Al Green's portion of Fort Bend is primarily Missouri City. And in Brazoria County, it's Pearland. Pearland and parts of Manville. Not all of Manville, I don't think, but parts of it for sure. Okay. Then you have the 22nd Congressional District. The 22nd Congressional District currently, as you see over here on the bigger map, the 22nd Congressional District includes Matagorda County to the coast, Wharton just north of that, Fort Bend to the east of that, and Brazoria again to the east of that. Okay. This portion of Brazoria County is the more, how can I put it? That is the more urban part of Brazoria County, the more developed. That's where the growth is, I would say, in Brazoria County, up in those areas. So between where the 9th is and where the 22nd starts below the 9th, that's the more heavily populated areas of Brazoria County. Okay. Now, the way this is shaped, I will say this, the way that the 22nd Congressional District is shaped, including Matagorda County and Wharton, these 2 very rural areas, do not be mistaken by the size of these counties. They are way more rural than they are urban, right? when you mix a district like that, it's quite interesting that those areas that have the heavier populations lose out. And so you see those entire counties are in one district. Whereas in Fort Bend, you see there are three congressional districts in Fort Bend. You see, even in Brazoria County, that there are three congressional districts, including the ninth, the 22nd, and the 14th. And I think it's critical that we pay attention to this so you can really see how the gerrymandering works. Okay. How the gerrymandering works. So this is the Houston Metro current map. This is what we're currently under. Okay. Next, I'm going to switch screens. So you should see, okay, you should see US Congress on your screen. So we are going to, let me find it. District maps. 1 second. I'm going to pull up the other map. Give me 1 second, because this is a lot. I can do it this way. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. I need to share this, but I'm going to have to airdrop it to my MacBook. All right. So we're going to look at Plan 2201, Plan C 2201. So now we're looking at the proposed map. So I just showed you the current map. Now we're going to look at the proposed map. And that's why it was critical that I went through the things that I went through with you, so that when I get to this proposed map, particularly how I showed you the 36, how it just dips into the metro area, right? When I showed you Brian Babin's district, I don't know if you remember where it was. So I'm going to have some fun with you. I'm going to flip flop between the two. All right. So this is the current. And let me bring this up some more. Okay. This is the current. Well, no, this is the proposed, right? This is the proposed changes, this mid-decade changes. That's what this is. Now, I'm going to flip back to the current. Uh-oh, no. Share this tab instead. All right, I'm back at the current. Okay. You see the current here? I want you to, if you're watching this, take a picture with your camera so you can so when I go to the proposed, you would have, unless you're on a computer, that's still not gonna work because then you're zooming. Okay, never mind. But I want you to look as I switch these screens, okay? This is the current, all right? And you'll know it's the current because it says 119. That's which Congress we're in right now. The 119th congressional session, okay? Now we're going to, let me move this over here so they're next to each other. We're going to look at the proposed. All right. So this is the proposed. You see how much of a difference this is from what I just showed you? Now, we don't know if this is truly like the top proposed map, but I will say this. Initially, it was said that 5 districts were being 5 districts were being targeted, But when you look at these changes, it's tearing up the entire metro area. Okay? The entire. So, for instance, I showed you the last thing we talked about on the current map. I was talking about the 22nd congressional district and how it had gone south into Matagorda and Wharton County. But now you see it going north, it goes through Fort Bend, so it kind of goes south. Let me see if I can move this up. So it goes through Fort Bend. It's no longer Wharton and Matagorda, and it's no longer Brazoria, but it goes up to Austin County, not to be confused with the city of Austin. Okay, Austin County is not Austin, the city. Austin, the city, is in Travis County. Okay. I had someone tell me, oh, well, that's good. Austin will be in it. No, that is not Austin. Okay. I didn't mean to go that small. Hold on. I just want to be able to show, because I know people um who want to support Texans who are not in Texas. They don't really understand how the state looks. Okay. So I'm just showing you these districts. Now let me get my map back open. All right, and if you're looking, I'm sorry, Austin is over here in Travis County. The city of Austin is over here in Travis County. Okay. And I think that I don't want you to think that even though the 22nd in this proposal, you see how huge it is, it's that big because it's that rural. Okay. It's that big in this proposal because those areas are that rural. Okay. Now, Fort Bend, Sugar Land, Missouri City, Fort Bend, right? Um, really has nothing in common besides being in Texas and in the United States and in North America. It really doesn't have much in common with a place like Burleson County or Washington County. It really doesn't. And so to redistrict it in the way that it's being redistricted is purely to dilute the power of the heavily populated area, the densely populated area of Fort Bend, to dilute it in this way. Okay. And that's just one example. Let's go back to our previous map, just so you can see again how the 22nd currently is shaped. And I'm just using the 20, I'm picking on the 22nd. I'm going to go back to the districts that everyone is concerned about, but I want to make sure that those of you who live in Houston who thought it was just something happening to the 18th, the 29th, and the 9th district, these black and brown districts, you thought it was just happening over here. No, baby. The proposal has it happening to all of us. Okay. Look at look at Fort Bend County here. And remember, I just showed you where it was going all the way up into Robertson and other counties north, Burleson, Washington. This is the area that is now going to be the 22nd if this proposal happens. Okay. So this is the current map. Now let's look at the 29th here, the 18th, and the 9th. We're going to look at what happens to those districts based on this proposal. And I'm probably going to have to do this a couple of times and just do one district per night. But I just want to give this overview now so that people will have it. So share this tab instead. All right. So we're going to dig into Harris County a little more. Sorry for the delay. Okay. So here we have um, Harris County, which is home to Houston. And you can vividly see the difference. You remember earlier I talked about that lion's mane, so to speak. That's no longer there. Okay, that lion's mane is no longer there in the way that it was earlier. So, just to give you some geographical bearings, right? This center line is I-10. This this circle here, that is Interstate 610, that is our bypassing loop. And so this center part here is downtown. This area where my arrow is, I think you can see my arrow. This area where my arrow is, this is downtown. Um, and if you can't see my arrow, then just look at what is the nose to the dog, so to speak, the dog's head, this green part. Just look at the nose area inside those yellow lines. That is downtown. You see, you have 69, also known as 59. So it's Interstate 50, Interstate 69, Highway 59. They're the same, but whatever. And then you have 45 um, to the west of it. And then they flip because they crisscross below downtown. Okay, they crisscross. So 45 ends up being to the east and 69 ends up being to the west. Okay, but this is the heart of the city of Houston. This larger circle, and again, this is not just for folks who live here, this is for other people too. That's the Beltway. Now, the inner circle, the 610 loop, that is what we call in the loop. That's like the heart of the city. Okay. Outside the loop, you have more communities, but it's more, it's less, it's not as dense. So the further you go out from the city center, the more dense, excuse me, the less dense the communities are. So the closer you are to the inside, it's heavily populated, it's more dense. And as you go out, it's less dense. But all of this is the metro area. This is the home, this metro area is the home to um, about 8 million people, or just shy of 8 million people, right? So one would think that you could probably split it up, the metro area, just in the metro area, and create your congressional districts. One would think you wouldn't go way out to very rural areas, but so why would you go out into those very rural areas and dilute these urban areas representation? Well, to be political. It's a strategy used um to reduce people's I won't say opportunity, but it dilutes their representation. Okay, it's less likely the person who's representing you will be someone who's nearby. But then that, let me not even go there. All right, so you have the 29th here, still to the east side, but you see it's more to the west. And so this western part, it dips down seemingly just just before you get back to I-10. So it will pick up neighboring to Spring Branch, so to speak. It does still saturate a lot. It saturates downtown and just west of downtown. Okay, so it changes significantly. Now I'm going to go back to the other map so you can see the 29th today. The 29th today doesn't do all of what it's doing um, in the proposal. Okay. It's much different. Here you have the 18th. It's like a lion's mane around the 29th, and it goes down and it meets Al Green's district. So it goes down south directly, so down 288. Um, it's most of the wards as I named earlier, right? But with the changes, the 18th shifts. And you'll see here it shifts in moving into what is currently the 7th and the 9th. Okay. What is currently the 7th and the 9th, the 18th. I thought I had switched screens, so give it a second. The 18th in this proposed, it dips down into what is currently the 7th and the 9th. Okay. Wow, it's much later than I thought it was. So I've gone over. I'm gonna just go ahead and go to 10:30 so I can wrap for tonight. So I'm going to share these links in the comments so that you can look at them for yourself. Look at the map for yourself and review it. I will talk about this again on Tuesday evening. I will start a bit earlier and I will do it indoors so I can, use the laptop and share the screen and all of that. But I really want us to really understand what is being proposed. If I do come across another proposed map, we will look at that one. But this one has been heavily circulated. This is directly from the state of Texas, as you see in the URL. So this isn't something I just pulled out of thin air. This is literally from um, the state capital. Okay, this is from the state of Texas. That's why you see texas.gov in the URL. Okay. This proposal will tear up our representation. Before I go, I do want to show you how targeted it is so you can see how the 7th is not even where it was. The 7th was mostly metro. With these changes, the 7th becomes very rural. It literally goes basically to the state line. That's crazy. Okay. That is insane. The 14th really is not impacted as much as the other neighboring districts in the metro area in the Houston, I think it's called Houston, Woodlands, Galveston like thing. But even still, look at I think this is the second. Look at the second congressional district, right? Dan Crenshaw's district is now going way, it's too screen is sensitive. It's going way east too. I showed you the 7th is going way east. Now, we talked about the 36, and I told you the 36 was represented by Brian Babin, right? And the 36 currently is um, down 45. Um, let me show you. So the 36, right? The 36 is, it starts like in this Pasadena area and then it goes east, right? It goes east. But on this new map, the jokes write themselves. On this new map, the 36 is not there anymore. The 36 has flipped to the north, coming down. So north, coming down into the metro. It literally dips down and gets itself a taste, so to speak, a taste of the metro. Same thing with the second. So what seemingly is happening is they are redistributing these most inner most urban, most metropolitan parts of Harris County. And instead of using their dense populations and just picking up the 766,000 people, right? That's what generally makes up like a what do you call it, congressional district. It's usually 700 or about 700,000 people or more. So it's taken this 766,000 people time and time again. And instead of pulling from the densely populated area which we live in, they're just taking pockets like a spoonful from the metro, and they're taking that spoonful and it's throwing it out into, it's like taking a spoonful of y'all know this is the kitchen cabinet of pretty petty politics. So like taking a spoonful of uh paprika, right? A spoonful of paprika, you add paprika for coloring, a spoonful of coloring for your food, and tossing it into a bowl of flour. And so when you mix it up, you can barely see that paprika because you only got a spoonful, right? You just got 1 teaspoon, and you have 2 cups of flour. All right. Um, and if you cook, you know what I mean when I say that, right? It kind of disappears. So you have to put the paprika right on top. But instead of keeping the paprika in its own spice area, instead of keeping the paprika in the seasoning cabinet, we are now taking the paprika and we're going to the pantry, right? And we're mixing the pantry with the spice cabinet, and that's not organized. That's confusion on purpose, right? You go into any southern kitchen, you're gonna have a space for your spices. The same way this map, there's a place already. We have communities. Let those communities be represented in unison, so to speak. And then these other areas, let them be represented the same. All right. But in this proposal, I hope that makes sense. But in this proposal, that's not happening. That's not happening at all. In fact, when you look at the 8th congressional district here on this screen, and you see how it's up in Walker County and it comes down to Montgomery, and it takes on the very far western border of Harris County and then comes back I-10 into downtown. Why are you scooping? Why are you scooping from this metropolitan area when you could just pick up some more parts of the woods up there? All right. It's very interesting to me that this is the way this has been developed, but it's not surprising at all. It's not. So hopefully you have had a chance to review this. Again, we'll pick it up and we'll talk about one district at a time in the follow up. But I just really wanted people to be able to see it for themselves, what this redistricting looks like and what we're up against with this redistricting plan. Again, this is just a proposal. Oh Lord, it said your browser has lost connection to your screen share. So hopefully all of this has been recorded. It looks like it has. So hopefully you were able to capture this. That hopefully like the technology worked, because I'm gonna be really upset if it didn't. But if not, they just meant it wasn't supposed to, and I can re-record. I can delete and re-record another night or another day. This redistricting that is happening, this proposed plan, the one that I just showed you, it's not concrete. But as soon as they have those public hearings, we will know what is being proposed. But if there is a public hearing near you, or if you can go to a public hearing, please go prepared with your questions and or comments. Please, I don't care who represents you, whether you agree with their politics or not, they work for you. So make sure you reach out to them if you need to know who represents you. I cannot leave you without talking about this. Find who represents you in Texas. So you can use this website that is ticking at the bottom of the screen. Go to that website, okay, wrm.capitol www.texas.gov/home. A page will generate. Okay. A page will generate, and it's going to ask you to enter your information. I'm actually going to share the page with you so you can see it. It's going to ask you, share screen. It's going to ask you for your information. Why isn't it showing? Okay, here it is. It's going to ask you for your information. You're going to type it in. So I'm going to type in, ooh, okay. And it will populate who your representatives are. Okay. It will populate who represents you in Congress, school board, State Board of Education, U.S. Senate, and Texas Senate, Texas House. Okay. All right. So who represents me? Texas, capital.texas.gov/home is where you go. All right. That's where you go to see who represents you. All right. So hopefully this is good to you. If you have any questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out. If you would like to support me, I invite you to order a copy of my book, Not by Bread Alone. There's the website ticking at the bottom. You can buy the ebook and I will email it to you as soon as your purchase comes through, or you can order it from Amazon directly and it will ship directly to you if you would like a physical copy. But there is an ebook available. Again, if you order it from the website here, I will send you the ebook via email. And of course, you can also order the physical copy from me directly and I will mail it to you and it will be autographed. All right. So that is all for this evening. Thank you so very much for your participation, for viewing. And we hope that this was good to you. We hope that, yeah, you found this valuable. And I'll see you next time.